You ever have one of those experiences where you launch a coaching program, you put your all into it, you get people enrolled, and then they just don't do the work? Well, that's what this video is about. How do we get more of our coaching clients to actually do the work? What's up, y'all? I'm Coach Tish, and welcome to my channel. If you've never been, if this is your first time here, just want to say welcome. In 2018, moved abroad for the very first time to Mexico after a layoff from my corporate job. In that same year, I used my coaching skills, coaching education, and the training I've received as a life coach, executive coach, and health coach to actually get my very first remote job as a health coach. That job has allowed me to travel the world, and most importantly to you, to learn more about behavior change. So if you want to know more about coaching, launching your coaching career, using more of your coaching skills, expat life, and releasing yourself from the perils of imposter syndrome, stay tuned, like, subscribe. This channel is for you. So let's start by thinking about this idea that 100% participation is the goal, right? As a coach, as a leader, as a teacher or a trainer, I am very aware that most of us treat our trainings, or at least the idea of our trainings, the way that we were taught to think about school, right? 100% is an A, 90% is a B, 80% is a C, right? Most of us are looking at these things like graduate school. And I know about you, but when I went to grad school, anything less than 80% was considered failing. Let's reframe that a bit, right? There's some questions that most of us as coaches, trainers, leaders aren't asking ourselves. And I want to talk to you a little bit about what some of those questions might be. So the first question to ask as we are trying to feel better about the participation rates in our courses, in our programs, in our trainings, is, are our expectations unrealistic? Right? I got to give a shout out to my one of my trainers, Stephanie Perry. She's actually the reason I'm recording this video. I was on her Instagram page a few days ago, and she was talking about, in one of her videos, she was talking about her YouTube Success Challenge, which I was a part of. It was great. It's why we're here today. It got me really getting into posting on YouTube and talking my talk, as she says. And so I heard her talking about how there were several people who did not launch their video. And as someone who's done a ton of training and trained others in behavior change, it got me to start thinking, how do we shift the behavior of people who enroll in our coaching programs? Now, I'm a coach. I love coaching, right? And I'm also clear that when it comes to coaching, especially around behavior change, right? I'm also a specialist when it comes to imposter syndrome, right? The perils of imposter syndrome. We're talking about perfectionism. We're talking about people who feel like they have to do things great the first time, that natural genius aspect. We're talking about the superwomen, those who feel like they need to take on everything, take on the world. We're talking about the soloists, those who feel like they need to do everything on their own, and asking for help is not failure, or asking for help is failure. We're talking about the expert, right? Those who feel like they need to know everything before they take action, right? I just listed out to you the 5 different types of, the 5 imposter types. And as I kind of rattled those off, you may have noticed that some of those are very relevant when it comes to getting people to take action, right? There's so many reasons that people do not take action. And so as we think about that as coaches and as leaders, as trainers, right, as people who are wanting to really get that 100% success rate, or at least as close to it as possible, I want us to begin honing our expectations, because here's what the psychology facts say, that at any given moment, only 20% of any group are actually ready for action. What does this mean? Well, the first thing, right, as we're thinking about, are my expectations realistic? Most of us are thinking that we want more than 20%, right? We want more people, more than just 20% of our people taking action. But knowing that from a psychology standpoint, typically only 20% of a given group are actually ready for action, how do we prevent this feeling of failure? How do we stop from feeling like we failed or like we've done something wrong when we have 20% or less? Well, the question I ask is, how are you measuring action? For many people, simply joining a program is considered action on their part. Being in the space, attending the calls, they consider it action. So are we, as coaches and leaders and trainers, are we measuring action different than how our students or clients or participants are measuring action? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm very clear. Yes, we want everybody to join in. We have a reason for people joining us, right? We have a reason, we have a solution, we have an end result, we have an end goal, we have things that we're trying to accomplish. Absolutely. For most of us, we're measuring action based on the action that I want you to take within my program. But if the people that we are working with are measuring action based on the fact of participation, and we're measuring action based on the fact that they do the end goal, it's very likely that that automatically sets us up for failure, right? There's a difference in understanding. And so what can we do about that? Well, one of my previous trainers, one of the things he always told us was to create mile markers, right? Was to create measuring points or measuring sticks on the way to the end goal. Identify things on the way to the end goal so that we can measure action in a variety of ways. That also supports our mindset as coaches, trainers, leaders of programs, because we can stop feeling like we failed, and instead we can begin measuring action in a different way. So that's the first thing we want to look at, is our expectations. Second question we want to ask ourselves is, what is our, as trainers, motivation, right? Why is this important to us? When most of us create our programs, the reason we've created them is because we've seen a problem. We want to solve a problem. We see the ripple effect and the ripple impact of that problem, right? And so when we create programs, we invite people in them, we do the work required. Yes, we want people to, and we want everybody to get this solution. We want everybody to get this result. We want everybody to see the ripple effect and the impact, the ripple impact of when they do this thing that we've created, right? When they do that thing, they get the thing that they've been wanting. Well, my question to you is, are you willing to shift your motivation? Most of us are motivated when people join our programs and they do all the things. But as a leader, coach, trainer, are you willing to be motivated by something else? Now that goes hand in hand with our idea around the first question I asked you, which was, are our expectations unrealistic? If you know, now you know, right? You know that 20% of any given population are ready for action. You know this. I just told you. Now that you know this, are you willing to be motivated by something other than 100% of the people in your group? This idea of 100% success stories. Are you willing to redefine success? Some of you will say, no, I'm absolutely not willing to redefine success. Okay. But I want you to know that trying to attaining perfection, right? This idea of 100% is not realistic. It's not. As a matter of fact, it not only messes with our mind, it messes with our motivation when we chase 100%. When we chase perfectionism, which is very clearly an imposter type, right? An outcome of imposter syndrome. This idea that many people mistakenly believe that imposter syndrome means, oh, I feel like a fraud. That's an aspect. That's one way to look at it, right? Another way to look at it is what's actually behind my desire for perfection. What's behind my desire for 100% participation? Yes, we want people to get the result, but here's what I learned very early on in my coach training. I can't want the end result more than my client wants it for themselves. Right? So as we were talking about the different, we didn't actually talk about the different stages of change, but I'm going to get to that in a minute. Right? So even though action is just one stage of change, it's important for us to look at our own motivation. Third question, what is our client's motivation? Right? Why is this thing that they've joined our program, why is this important to them? When I joined Stephanie's YouTube Success Challenge, the thing that was important to me, I've been working as a coach since 2008, approximately. And I've been hearing since 2008, approximately, that I should do videos and that I should do more things that allow the world to hear my voice. And I would start and stop, right? If you look further down my YouTube channel, the last video I posted was probably 4 or 5 years ago. And there were so many things that I would start and stop, primarily because I was experimenting. I was trying to find my groove. I was trying to figure things out. And the thing that was important to me, primarily about this challenge, was that I was going to find a way to continue moving no matter what. But that's after 15 years of starting and stopping, joining programs, doing the pieces that I felt comfortable with, feeling overwhelmed, experiencing burnout, right? For many of us as coaches, leaders, trainers, we don't really know, we don't really have details, we don't really have insight into where our people are, right? Exactly where they are in our journey. And we don't really have a way to measure that. If we want to shift the feelings that show up for us as it relates to the success of our clients, having a way to measure is important. It will be beneficial for us. So, fourth question that we want to ask ourselves as coaches, leaders, trainers, is what stage of change? What stage of change are our clients in when they join our programs? Now, I'm very clear that stages of change is something that most of us don't know about. Most of us are not familiar with. I was only familiar with it once I took a graduate course in coaching. I was fortunate enough to work at a graduate school, be introduced to a master's level coaching program, and to take master's level, graduate level coaching classes. And one of the first things that they began to talk to us about was behavior change theory, right? And that's really the foundation underneath coaching. That's what coaching is based on. When we start talking about behavior change, there's actually 5 stages of change, and action isn't even the first one. Action is only one of those stages. When we know what stage of change our clients are in, then we know what to give them. We then know what they need, because each stage of change actually has different needs, different goals, different questions, that allow a client to either move to the next stage or to continue and maintain the change that they've taken on. Now, I can't even tell you how many coaching programs I've enrolled in, right? I'm a coach who loves coaching. I'm a coach who loves coach training. I'm a coach who loves developing myself, learning new ways, right? You name it, I've probably taken a training on it. From marketing to money management to YouTube success. I've taken YouTube, I've done a ton of those, Facebook ads, branding, right? And 90% of the courses that I've taken were not familiar with the stages of change concept. They did not necessarily create their program for people who were in any other stage besides action. So if that's what's happening for you as a coach, as a leader, as a trainer, you're not alone. Like I said, I took a graduate level course in the stages of change. And it is my pleasure. I'm going to create another video going in more depth, right, and more detail. But that's the question. And if you want that, comment below. But that's the question that would help you to feel better about the level of participation you have in your program. Once you realize the stage of change that your clients are in, you're able to answer the question, what do they actually need for that stage? Once you know the stage of change that your clients are in, you're able to answer the question, what do they need for that stage? You're also able to answer the question, how many of my clients, participants, students are in each stage, right? This is the kind of information that is very valuable to us as coaches, leaders, trainers, because then it helps us to kind of curb our expectations. Once we know where people are, we know what they need, and then we can give them those things in order to help them move forward. Once we know what stage of change our clients are in, we can also identify whether or not our idea of action is actually appropriate for that particular stage. So there's 5 stages of change. Now, if you use the psychology terms, right, those stages are pre-contemplation, before you even know what the problem is. Contemplation, when you know what the problem is, but now you're beginning to think about it. Preparation, when you're preparing to actually make a change. Action, when you're acting on the information you have. And then retention or termination, right? When you're sustaining, you've actively made a shift, you know what the solution is, and you're actively making changes and continuing to make shifts. Those are the 5 stages of change. And each stage has different things that are important to people who are in that stage, has different questions you'll ask of your clients, or your clients will be asking of themselves for that stage. Different actions that are valuable for that particular stage. And so as coaches, leaders, trainers, it's important for us to continue our learning and to specifically learn coaching psychology, because that's what allows us to temper our expectations, to feel better about the results that we're getting, and to gather more information. So, circling back, 4 questions. Are your expectations unrealistic? Do you know your own motivation, and are you willing to redefine success for yourself? Do you know your client's motivation? And do you know what stage of change your clients are in? These are the things that are going to completely shift the mindset of you, redefine how you measure success for your program, and ultimately impact how many of your clients are being successful. If you found this helpful, please share, like, and subscribe to this channel so you can get more information just like this about improving your coaching skills, expanding your coaching programs, learning more about releasing perfectionism and other aspects of imposter syndrome. And I'll see you in the next video. Y'all have a great one. Peace.